For the third consecutive Sunday, the Gospel is from the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus sets out his program for the kingdom of God. Matthew 5:17-37 gives us some of the rules for the road. But there is a huge contrast between the understanding of laws as presented by the scribes and the Pharisees and the deeper meaning as preached by Jesus. Jesus does not stop at the letter of the law, but reaches into the virtue that gives meaning to the law. Jesus speaks of what has been heard in the past and what has to be listened to now. The discourse is divided into 4 antitheses, each one expressed by the formula, "You have heard it said, but I say to you." Jesus is not changing the law and the traditions passed on through the prophets. He is applying a proper spirit to what has become too legalistic. He explains that the dictates of the law were for the head to guide the 5 senses. The spirit of Jesus was to form the heart as well as the mind. Jesus then focuses on 2 of the basic energies within us, which are the source of sin if they remain unchecked: anger and lust. 2 great men were born in the year 1864. One man, William Shakespeare, lived to the age of 52 and became the greatest dramatist of the English language. The other, Christopher Marlowe, perished midway in his life at the age of 29 because of his anger. Christopher wrote some of the epic plays at a very young age. One of his best plays is The Tragical Life of Dr. Faustus. But he was a man given to anger. He picked up a quarrel with a stranger who challenged him to a sword fight unto death, which was common in that century of history. They both fought, and Christopher was mortally wounded and later succumbed to his injuries. A great promise was terminated because of anger. Had Christopher Marlowe lived longer, he probably would have become greater than William Shakespeare. All of us have anger in us, and it is normal to feel angry at times. Instead of just expressing our anger, we need to look at the cause of our anger. We can't always avoid getting angry, but we can avoid acting out our anger and control the manner in which we express our anger. Jesus wants to help his listeners to take the right approach to the commandments of God, urging them to be open to God, who teaches us true freedom and responsibility. He asks us to look deep within ourselves at our inner motive. Why am I doing what I am doing? And why am I not doing what I ought to be doing? Ultimately, there is only one commandment that we need to embrace if we are to live in God's kingdom: the commandment of loving our neighbor. Only love will help us to live for God. Sylvester O'Flynn, in The Good News of Matthew's Year, tells of the Greek philosopher Plato, 400 years before Christ, who wrote of 2 horses in the human heart: passion and reason. Passion is the wild, untamed horse with boundless strength and energy, but very hard to control and direct. Reason is the tamed horse, accustomed to the reins, disciplined in stride and responding to directions. The chariot hitched to a pair of passions might go anywhere, but would surely crash or overturn before long. A charioteer who selects a pair of reasons will be too cautious and fearful to go anywhere worthwhile. But if passion and reason can be paired, then the powerful energy is harnessed and the journey of life can be enjoyed. We are free human beings. The gospel testifies that we are not forced to do good or to do evil. Rather, we have been given the choice to choose among the alternatives. What distinguishes us from machines is that we have the gift of freedom. Freedom is a gift of being able to act without being constrained. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, 1731, highlights that freedom is the power rooted in reason and will, to act or not to act, to do this or that, and so to perform deliberate actions of one's own responsibility. The Gospel is an exhortation of this from Jesus, to be righteous, that is, to wisely employ one's free will for the betterment of oneself, one's neighbor, and one's society. The teaching of Jesus strongly affirms the need for rules, but rules are to be understood not as ends in themselves, but as a means to the end, which is a life of spiritual strength and commitment. We can get caught up by foolish scruples that come from a superstitious fear of rules and regulations. When evaluating ourselves, we feel we are good law-abiding people because we are not in the habit of stealing. We are not big-time liars, nor are we thieves. We say our prayers and mind our own business. Jesus tells us that we can sin even if we never commit an external act. We can sin in thoughts, desires, motives, and attitudes. These may be our worst sins and the root cause of most of the external ones. Jesus challenges us to go beyond, to do the maximum we can for God and our neighbor, to go beyond the letter of the law, to go to the spirit of the law. Jesus launches a new spiritual movement with just one commandment: love one another, and he challenges us not to let our practices and routines and our safe way of doing things get in the way of this commandment. An unworthy intention can spoil even the best deed. Jesus invites us to look at our attitudes that are seriously wrong, to look at our old resentments, jealousies, anger, suspicions, and even hatred. In the springs of living waters, we are asked to reflect about the source of human freedom. Science doesn't give an explanation about the source of our freedom. The source of all human freedom is God, who is not just the source, but even the goal of human freedom. Our every good choice brings us closer to God, because human freedom grows, matures, and attains its perfection only in God. All of us are endowed with the gift of freedom, the ability to choose between good and evil. In choosing evil, one becomes a slave of sin. The more one does what is good, the freer one becomes. We know in choosing good, we rise up to be our nobler selves. But how we discern what is good and evil, especially when it is difficult to distinguish between the two? They are happy who freely follow God's law. Pope Francis reminds us that Jesus asks us to continue on the path of love that he has indicated to us and which begins from the heart. May the Virgin Mary help us to follow the path traced by her Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ, to reach true joy and to spread justice and peace wherever we go. Amen.